We begin now at the top of Daf Mem Zayin Amud Beis in Maseches Berachos. This is Berachos Daf 47b. The Gemara just finished where Rav Papa asked Abaye the following question. And Rav Papa asked Abaye, he said, if it's true that the pasuk implies that a Levi only takes off, only separates one thing for the Kohen, meaning Trumas Meiser and not Truma Gedola, that should apply all the time. How come after you've piled up the grain, if the Levi goes ahead and he takes his Meiser first, why then is he suddenly obligated to give both Trumas Meiser and Truma Gedola? And to that, Abaye responds to Rav Papa, Mikol Masrosechem Tarima. The pasuk says, from all your Meisers, you have to take off Truma, implying that any kind of Truma needs to be taken, whether it be Truma Gedola or Trumas Meiser. So basically one pasuk seems to say only one kind of truma needs to be taken, but this pasuk indicates all kinds of trumas need to be taken. And the Gemara says, Umaris, and how do you know where to apply what? Meaning, how do you know that all trumas are taken when it's in a pile, when you put it in the kri, and that only Trumas Meiser is taken if it was Hekdima B'Shibolim, if it was still in stalks when the Levi took his Meiser? And the Gemara answers, Hai Idgin v'Hai Lo Idgin. It depends, when it's put in a pile, it's considered Idgan, it's considered Dagon, it's considered real grain. And so at that point, once it's considered Dagon, so the Chiyuv of Truma, and essentially the Reshus of the Kohen is Chal upon that grain, and therefore the Levi has to give the Truma Gedola. But before it's been piled up, the Kohen really doesn't have his official Reshus to be getting Truma. So if the Levi goes ahead and takes his Meiser first, he only needs to take off Trumas Meiser. He doesn't need to take off the standard Truma Gedola. The Gemara now quotes the Mishnah again, Meiser Sheni v'Hekdesh Sheniftu. This is other cases. If I have Meiser Sheni or Hekdesh that was redeemed, again, that is considered good food. It's considered food that is roy to make a mezumin on. So the Gemara says, Pshit, again, it's obvious. If you redeemed it, it's completely fit for consumption. So the Gemara says, the case over here is you redeemed it by giving the principal value, but you didn't add on the fifth. And the Mishnah is teaching us that the fifth is not ma'akev, it's still considered fully redeemed, and therefore you make a mezumin on such food. Again, quoting the Mishnah, Hashamish sha'achal kazayis, it says that if the servant, the waiter, joins and eats a kazayis with the other two people, they can make a mezumin with the shamish. Pshita again, isn't it obvious? No, I might have thought a shamish is not established eating; he's eating in a haphazard manner. So it comes to teach us that no, as long as he eats a kazayis, he's considered part of the meal with them. And also a kusi, he can be part of a zimun. Now we're going to see as we go on in the Gemara why it is that maybe you would think a kusi should not. So the Gemara starts off right away. Why should a kusi be part of the mezumin? Lo yehei alam haaretz. At best, he should be no better than an am haaretz. V'tanya, we learned in a brisa, ein mizamnin alam haaretz. An am haaretz can't be part of the mezumin. So straight out. So even if a kusi was considered fully Jewish in all respects, he still would be no better than am haaretz. So the Gemara says, Abaye Omer b'kusi chaver. Abaye says the Mishnah is talking about a kusi who we know is a scholar, we know he's a chaver, and we know he is not an am haaretz, therefore he's allowed to be part of mezumin. Rav Amar afilo tema b'kusi am haaretz. Rava says, no, you can even say the Mishnah is talking about a kusi that's an am haaretz. V'hacha ba'am haaretz derabonon, depli yolad Rav Meir askinim. But we define an am haaretz the way the Rabbonon define an am haaretz. The Rabbonon are those who argue with Rabbi Meir. The Tanya, as we learned in the following brisa. Eizeu am haaretz. What is an am haaretz? How do you define what an am haaretz is? Kol she'eno ochel chulin b'tara divrei Rabbi Meir. So according to Rabbi Meir, anybody who doesn't eat his chulin, chulav. Kol she'eno ochel chulav b'tara. Anyone who doesn't eat his chulin in tara. Now the halach is you don't need to eat regular food, chulin. You don't need to eat it pure. It could be tameh, but it's good to be strict and to eat it b'tara. So Rabbi Meir says anyone who doesn't is considered am haaretz. The Chachamim omrim kol she'eno ma'aser peiros of karoi. The Chachamim say that what's considered an am haaretz, and am haaretz is considered somebody who doesn't take off proper meiser. So the Gemara now says, why would the kusim be okay according to the Chachamim's definition? V'hani kusai isure ma'asri kedechazi. When it comes to the kusim, they actually do take off meiser properly. Because that which is written directly in the Torah, maybe they don't keep things that are part of the oral tradition, but things that are written in the Torah, they are careful about. The Amar Marcus, the Master said, "Kol mitzvah shech ziku bakusim harbe medaktkim bayoser miyisrael." Any mitzvah which the kusim took upon themselves, they were medaktik in it even more than a Yisrael. So what comes out is that according to the Chachamim, the kusim are not considered amei haaretz. That's what the Gemara is answering. That's what Rav is answering. Rav is saying even a kusi who is a quote unquote an am haaretz wouldn't technically fit the definition of an am haaretz as the Chachamim define it, and therefore a kusi could be part of the mezumin. Tana Rabban, we learned in a brisa, Ezo Amaretz, what is an Amaretz? So this brisa is going to give a number of opinions on how you define an Amaretz. So Kol She'eno Kore Kriya Shema Arvis V'Shacharis Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. According to Rabbi Eliezer, anybody who doesn't read Kriya Shema in the evening and in the morning is an Amaretz. Rabbi Yoshua says Kol She'eno Miniach Tefillin. Anybody who doesn't wear tefillin is an Amaretz. Ben Azai says Kol She'en Lo Tzitzis Bevigdo. Anybody who doesn't have tzitzis. Rabbi Nassan says Kol She'en Mezuzah Al Pischo. Anybody who there's no mezuzah on his doorway. Rabbi Nassan Bar Yosef says Kol Sheyesh Lo Bonim Ve'eno Megadlim L'Talmud Torah. Anybody who has children but he doesn't raise them to the learning of Torah. Acherim Omer, and others say Afilu Kara V'Shana. Even a person who has read Psukim, who has learned Mishnah V'lo Shimesh Talmidei Chachamim, and he did not serve Talmidei Chachamim. Generally speaking, serving Talmidei Chachamim refers to the learning of Gemara. We'll see in Rashi in a moment. Harei Amaretz. That is an Amaretz. So Rashi here says Shaloshimesh Talmidei Chachamim Hu HaGemara. When it says in the Gemara, when the Gemara uses the expression of he didn't serve Talmidei Chacham, that actually refers to Gemara Hatzaluya B'Svara, which is talking about the Svara, the logic. Shal Yunosnim L'Divrei Mishnah Tam. They would give reasons for the Mishnah, V'hayu Mesasvim Yachad, and they would gather together, V'oskim B'kach, and they would deal with it. V'yidugmas HaGemara Shesidru HaMorem, and that was like a kind of like a predecessor of the Gemara which the Amoraim eventually arranged. So when it says over here that someone who wasn't Meshamish Talmidei Chachamim is an Amaretz, it means somebody who hasn't learned Gemara. Amar Rav Huna says, halacha ka'acherim. The halacha is like the acherim. The halacha is that someone's considered Amaretz if he's not Meshamish Talmidei Chacham, if he does not learn Gemara. Rami Bar Chama lo azmin oleh de Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa. So Rami Bar Chama would not make a mezumin with Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa, the Tani Sifra v'Sifri v'Hilchasa, because he learned, even though he learned Sifra and Sifri and halacha, but he considered that he was not, he considered that he was an Amaretz because he was not Meshamish Talmidei Chachamim. Now, when Rami Bar Chama died, Amar Rava said, Lo nach nafshi de Rami Bar Chama, ela de lo azmin Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa. The reason why Rami Bar Chama died, it was a punishment because he did not include Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa in the mezumin that was not appropriate what he did. So the Gemara asks, why was it inappropriate? But we learned in the Brisa, the Brisa says explicitly, even a person who's very learned, but if he's not Meshamish Talmidei Chacham, he's an Amaretz, so he didn't do anything wrong. The Gemara says, no, Shani Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa de Meshama Luhu Rabbanan. So he says, really, Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa was Meshamish the Rabbanan, and in fact, he was not an Amaretz, even according to that definition. Rami Bar Chama, who de lo daka basrei, and Rami Bar Chama was not careful in looking after him. He did not investigate properly. Had he investigated properly, he would have found out that Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa was, in fact, Meshamish Talmidei Chachamim. Lishna Acharina, another version has the story, Teshama Shmaitzam Mipumayu de Rabbanan V'garis Lahu, Kitzur Me Rabbanan Dami. That somebody who hears the sugyas from the mouths of the Rabbanan and he learns them, that's considered like a Tzur Me Rabbanan. So Rav Menashe bar Tachlifa did hear the different discussions from the Rabbanan, and he learned them over. That was considered sufficient to be considered Meshamish Talmidei Chachamim. Gemara continues with the two dots, Achal Tevel Meiser. Now the Mishnah listed food items which are not good for a mezumin. So the first one was Tevel. Tevel is something in which you haven't taken off the proper trumas and Meiser, so you can't eat it. So the Gemara says, Tevel Pshita. Tevel is obvious. Of course, it's not considered a kosher food that you can make a mezumin on. The Gemara says, Lo tzricha, no, it's needed. But tevel midrabanan. Let's say you have tevel, but it's only tevel midrabanan. This food item, was not obligated in trumas and meisers on a deoraisa level. Heichi dami ba'artzes sheinu nakav. What would be the case if it's growing in a pot without a hole? So the idea there is that if it grows in a pot, it's not getting any nutrients from the ground. There's no hole in the pot, so it's not even sucking through the air the nutrients in the ground. It is not obligated on a Torah level in trumas and meisers. It's only obligated on a rabbinic level, only obligated midrabanan, and therefore it's not so obvious. But nevertheless, there's no mezumin on such food. Ma'aser rishon. Then the Mishnah continued that if you have ma'aser rishon which you did not properly take off truma, so the Gemara says pshita, that's obvious also. You didn't take off the proper trumas ma'aser, so you didn't take off the proper truma. So the Gemara says lo tzricha, no, it's needed. It can go and shake dimo bikri. The cases where the Levi he took ma'aser before the Kohen, but it was already piled up. It was already dug on. So in that case, we said you do need to take off both trumas ma'aser and truma gedola. But ma'u detema, what you have said, kid amar le Rapapa labaya. So as we noted before at the top of the Yom, Rapapa had thought that maybe a Levi never needs to take off truma gedola under all circumstances. Kamash malon kedeshani le. So the Mishnah teaches us, like Abaya answered, that no, a Levi does need to take off truma gedola if he took his ma'aser rishon before the Kohen, after it was already piled up and it had the status of dagan. Then the Mishnah said Meiser Sheni that was not redeemed properly. Also, there's no mezumin. Pshita, isn't that obvious? Lo tzricha, no, it's needed. Sheniftu v'lo niftu kilchason. It was redeemed, but not redeemed properly. So there was some redemption. Meiser Sheni, what would be an example of my Meiser Sheni? Kigon shepato agave asimon. Let's say he redeemed it on an asimon. What is an asimon? Rashi says asimon is kesef shelo nikba lo tzura. It was a kesef, but the form, the imprint, had not been put on the money. V'korn lo palzon belaz. So that kind of a coin is not sufficient in halacha for redeeming Meiser Sheni. Rachman amar v'tzarta hakesef biyadech. It says v'tzarta, so we learn out from the word v'tzarta, kesef sheyesh alav tzura. It has to have some kind of an imprint on it to be considered kesef. Hektish, what would be an example of improperly redeeming hektish? Shechilalo agabe karka v'lo pedo bekesef. Let's say he redeemed it on land, not with money. Rachman amar v'nasan hakesef v'kamlo, but the pasuk says you have to use kesef, you cannot use karka. It said that if the shamish eats less than a kazayis, he doesn't count. Pshita, that's also obvious. He didn't need a kazayis. Of course, anytime anyone doesn't need a kazayis, then they're not part of the mezumin. The Gemara says, I did the ton of ratio kazayis, ton of seifa pachos mikazayis. This is just a contrast to the ratio. In the beginning of the Mishnah, it said that the shamish who eats a kazayis joins. So in order to balance out the Mishnah, so the end of the Mishnah says a shamish who does not eat a kazayis doesn't join, even though that statement is obvious. V'hanachri in mezamnin olav, somebody who's not Jewish cannot be part of a mezumin. Pshita, that's also obvious. No, here the Mishnah is talking about a convert who has had bris milah, but he did not yet immerse himself in the mikvah. To Amar Rabbi Zera, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Zera said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Liolam eino ger at sheyimol v'yitvel. A person is not considered to be a proper convert until he has milah and he is immerses in the mikvah. V'kama delo taval nachriyu. As long as he did not immerse in the mikvah, he's considered a non-Jew, and that is the chiddush of the Mishnah. Then it said in the Mishnah, Nashim va'avorim uketanim ein mezamnin alei, and it said that women, servants, and minors, they are not part of a mezumin. Amar Rabbi Yossi says, Katan hamutal barisa mezamnin olav. A katan, even if he's still in the crib, he can be part of a zimun. So the Gemara asks, v'hatanan, but didn't it just say in the Mishnah, Nashim va'avorim uketanim ein mezamnin aleim? It says women, servants, and minors. There's no zimun, so clearly there's no zimun for minors. What is Rabbi Yossi talking about? So the Gemara answers, Hu de Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. He follows the opinion of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. The Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi said, even though we said a katan in a crib is not part of a zimun, aval osin oso snifla asara. But if you're making a zimun of 10, so then let's say you only have 9 plus this katan, he could count for the 10th, even though he can't count for the third person in a mezumin of 3 people. V'yamar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi said, Tisha v'yavin mitzdarfin, if you have 9 people and 1 servant that would also join together. So Meizveh, they asked the question, Ma'isa Rabbi Eliezer shenichnas lebeis hakneses. There was once a story with Rabbi Eliezer who he entered into the shul, v'lo matza asara, he didn't find 10 people for a minyan, v'shichrer avdo v'shlimu asar, so he freed his servant, and that became the 10th. So the Gemara says, shichrer in lo, shichrer lo. From that brayso, it sounds like you have to free the servant, and otherwise is not considered to be part of the minyan. So we have here again a contradiction. We just said before, according to Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, that an eved and 9 other people can count, and here Rabbi Eliezer felt the need to free his eved. So the Gemara answers, trei itzrichu. No, in that case, in the brayso, it sounds a little like a dochik answer here. The Gemara is answering there were really 2 people missing in that case. They had 8 people. Shechar echad, so he freed one of his servants, v'nafik b'chad, and then used the other servant as the 10th, because he needed to get 9 plus the eved. The Gemara says, but 1 second, how did he free his servant? V'amar Rav Yehuda, but Rav Yehuda said, Kol ha'meshachar avdo, over be'aseh, anybody who frees a servant transgresses an aseh. Shenemar, it says, L'olam b'hem ta'avoda, they serve forever, you can't free them. Gemara says, L'dvar mitzvah shani. Now, for a mitzvah, it's different. He was doing it for a mitzvah, they were trying to make a minyan, not a problem. The Gemara says, mitzvah haba bi'averi. What do you mean it's not a problem? There's a concept called mitzvah haba bi'averi. You're not allowed to do a mitzvah through an avera. So he's trying to do this mitzvah to create a minyan, but he's doing it through the avera of freeing his servant. So the Gemara says mitzvah derabim shani. No, this was not just any mitzvah. This was a mitzvah for the public. This was trying to create a minyan. Therefore, it's okay. V'yamar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says, Liolam yashkim adam lebeis hakneses. A person should always get up early to go to shul. Kedei sheyizke v'yimne im asara harishonim. He should merit to be counted among the first 10 in the minyan. Shafilu meya boim achrav. Even if 100 people come after him, kibel olav schar kulam. He gets all of their reward. The Gemara says, Schar kulam sal kadai. You think he gets all of their reward? Doesn't make sense. Why should he get their reward? Ela ema nosin lo schar keneged kulam. It means he gets reward corresponding to the reward that they all get. So he gets the reward of those 100 people. He doesn't get their actual reward, but he gets that level of schar. Amar Rav Huna said, Tisha ve'aron mitzarfin. If you have 9 people and the aron in a shul, that could join together for a minyan. Amar le Rav Nachman said, ve'aron gavrahu, an aron is considered a person. Amar Rav Huna, rather Rav Huna says, Tisha nirin kasarim mitzarfin. What it really means is that if 9 people appear like 10 people, that's good enough. You don't have to actually have 10, as long as it looks like you have 10. Amri la, some people say kimechanfi, that when they're gathered close together, sitting close together, that makes it look like 10. V'amri la kimevadri, some people say no, it's when they're actually spread apart that it looks like 10. So just a question exactly how 9 people end up looking like 10 people. Amar Rabbi Ami says Shnayim v'Shabbos mitzdarfin. When you're trying to make a zimun, trying to get 3 people, 2 people and Shabbos can join together to make a zimun. Amar le Rav Nachman v'Shabbos gabru. Rav Nachman said to him, so Shabbos is considered a person? That doesn't make sense. El Amar Rabbi Ami, rather Rabbi Ami says Shnei talmidei chachamim hamechaded in zeh b'halacha mitzdarfin. If you have 2 talmidei chachamim who sharpen one another in halacha, that will count as 3 people. Machvi Rav Chisda, so Rav Chisda pointed out, Kagon Anov Rav Sheshis, like me and Rav Sheshis. Rav Sheshis and I, we sharpen each other in halacha, we would count as a zimun. Machvi Rav Sheshis, Kagon Anov Rav Chisda. Rav Sheshis himself also did the same thing. He pointed to him and Rav Chisda as an example of 2 people who are sharpen one another in halacha. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Katan poreach mezamnin olav. A katan poreach is considered old enough to be part of a zimun. Rashi explains what that means. Katan poreach shehevi simonim v'lo ba l'chlal shanav. He has the signs of physical maturity of an adult, but he's not really yet the age of an adult. That's considered good enough for a zimun. Tanya Nami Hachi, we have a brisa like this as well. Katan shehevi shtei saros. If a katan has 2 hairs, mezamnin olav. So again, he has these 2 hairs which are a sign of maturity. That allows him to be part of a zimun. V'shelo hevi shtei saros. But if he does not have the shtei saros, ein mezamnin olav. He can't be part of a zimun. However, the brisa also says v'ein medaktikin bekatan. We're not exacting when it comes to a katan. So we're not exacting to try to make sure exactly whether or not he is a status of a katan or a gadol. We'll explain this on the next Talmud. But the Gemara asks Hagufa Kasha, but this itself seems internally contradictory. Amrit Hevi Shtei Saras. First you say that he has to have 2 hairs in Lo Hevi Lo. So only if he has 2 hairs, yes, but Lo Hevi, but if he does not have the 2 hairs, Lo, then it doesn't count. Sounds like you're being strict about that. V'hadar Tani, Ein Medaktikin Rekatan. Then it says that we're not so exact when it comes to a minor. Le Suyamai. What is that coming to include? What does it mean we're not so exact? Lav, is it not? And the Gemara will go on to discuss this question on Daf Mem Ches Amud Aleph in the next video.